Welcome back, and what a spectacular week we have coming up for the moon cycle reading. I'm gonna do something even more special. I'm actually gonna have an event over at Reiki Healing Hope ASMR where we will have a session specifically and particularly for this partial lunar eclipse, this Beaver Moon, this frost moon. And so get your slippers, get your comfy chair, get your pillow, get your latte, get your glass of water, do whatever you need to do in the moment because we about to get into it. So when I look at the planets are pretty much, they doing what they doing, okay? We already talked about that last week. They're not really moving that quick. The moon moves the quickest, right? So we have that. We will talk a little bit about some Uranus energy, especially with the relationship with the moon, particularly at this time of this Beaver Moon, this frost moon, which is also a full moon too. But we just gonna get into it. We just gonna jump in there. So I have a new deck. Wanted to share this. It's called the Polaroid Tarot deck by Queen Sugar Tarot. Originally it was a Kickstarter and now they are selling it on Etsy. Super cute. Love it, love it, love it. Just want to give you some little glimpses of what's going on. If you like deck reviews, go on over to Repocus because she can do that because I'm about to do this. Okay, babies. Well, ciao. So I went to go look at this, and the thing that came up to me the most was this being a partial lunar eclipse. And when I went to see, well, how partial is partial? You get a partial scholarship. You got a partial fine. You get a partial reimbursement. How partial is partial? And actually, from the way it is looking, it's actually going to be 97% full. So it's still partial, but if you can see it, it would look like a full eclipse. But it's still partial. So let's give a little bit of background of what's going on while I do some shuffling, okay? First of all, let me know how last week went. We talked about a lot. I came out from the rock that I crawled under, and now I'm back in the streets. For the streets, by the streets. Anyway, so yes, in the comment section, just let me know what's going on, how has things been going, a little this, a little that. And let's talk about this upcoming full moon. Okay, so this upcoming full moon is a partial lunar eclipse. It is also known as the Beaver Moon. It is also known as the frost moon. So let's actually get into why those things are as they are. And then we'll get into some cards too to give us some clarity about what's going on. So it is called the Beaver Moon because literally this is the time of year in which the beavers would start to take shelters. So if there was someone who was hunting beavers, trigger warning for the vegans, but if there was somebody hunting beavers specifically for their fur, this would be the time where they would have to make sure that they set their traps out so that they can get the furs that they also need for the winter too, to be able to survive the winter. Also, it's called the frost moon. Why is it called the frost moon? It is around the time where the temperatures begin to drop. So very practical in how it is, especially with it being in Taurus. It already brings that sense of practicality. Taurus is ruled by Venus, but so is Libra. But when we think of the beauty and the comfort, Taurus represents actually physically being comfortable. Like you have your socks, you have your blanket, you have a nice nap, you get a nice massage. Where Libra represents that aesthetic beauty, that visual beauty, that sense of internal harmony. And what we notice about this eclipse is that it's going to be on the Taurus-Scorpio axis. And what that means is that the eclipse represents a moment of the shadow. So specifically what happens is the moon is in the shadow of the earth. So we see it from that perspective. And with the positioning of the sun too, we might see it as red, or we see it as very vibrant. So if the full moon is in Taurus, and typically a full moon time is a time of celebration, it is a time when the moon is the brightest. If you think about it, the new moon has nothing. You're not seeing nothing, right? But it's a time to start, a time to begin, a time to initiate planning, a time to really prepare yourself to get started, where the full moon is the brightest in the fullest that it's going to be. So that's usually a time of celebration, a time of hunting. I mean, you got to imagine the times where there weren't electricity. So they were really relying on the moon to denote time, to denote seasons, to denote being able to hunt past certain times, going into the night. And so that's the full moon energy. So let's just say with full moon, let's group it and say celebration. Boom. We're going to put that right there. Boom. But with this partial lunar eclipse, specifically in this area, it's actually very volatile. It's actually looking at the shadow. And with all of this Scorpio energy going on right now, because we have Mars in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio, the Sun in Scorpio. It's not going to be in Scorpio for that long after this eclipse, but all of that is in that Scorpio energy. What it brings up is it brings up things that need to be burned away, things that need to be sacrificed. So the celebration here is going in and taking the deepest pain that you have and giving it up for offering. That's going to be the most important aspect. Or let me not use the word aspect when we're referring to astrology. That's going to be the most important thing that's going to be happening in that moment. So just to run it back a little bit, what you want to do preparing for that November 17th is take an inventory of your life. And already with all this Scorpio energy, baby, it's already come up. It's already all in your face. You already know what you need to give up. Take that deepest pain. You don't have to relive it. And if you need some support, head on over to Reiki Healing Hope, because you know we be doing the healing. We do the shadow work and we do the light work. But take the deepest pain that you have, okay? And you can write it down, or you can just think about it and see it as an offering. Something that needs to be burned away. Something that you give up. Because typically when you think of an offering, you think of the best of the best. You give your best sheep or goat. I'm trying to think what they did back in the day. Or your best fruit. Or your best money, money offerings as well. You give your best, fill in the blank for that, okay? But this is that lunar eclipse. This is that shadow period. This is working on that Taurus Scorpio axis. What is the shadow of Taurus? Scorpio. Just like the shadow of Scorpio would be Taurus. The shadow of Gemini is Sagittarius. The shadow of Sagittarius is Gemini. So basically during this full moon in Taurus, the celebration that is in front of you, those deep family issues, family secrets, deep pain from your formative years, things or cycles that you're in when it comes to the intimate. And when I say intimate, I'm not necessarily meaning in a romantic way. It can be though, but intimate, like closeness, whoever you're close to, those dynamics that you have in intimate situations that have been built off of maybe codependency or toxic dynamics or toxic loyalty. We see that often in families. You have to, even if it doesn't make sense, you have to do it because that's how everything has happened. And the moment you try to heal yourself, everybody looks at you like you're crazy, things like that. So this is an opportunity to take one or some of these things and bring them into the full picture. But just to give you an idea for the week, you have, after you hit that first quarter, which was last week, you have this waxing gibbous. So typically this would be a time where you're just you learn them lessons and then you're working through to get to that full moon. But because there's kind of a very, I want to use the term goth, but very dark celebration of this moon, it's talking about internal things. It's talking about, instead of just celebrating what's going right, going and seeing that it's equally as important to heal yourself. If you don't heal yourself and you're trying to attract the things you want in your life, you may not be prepared to receive these beautiful things because you have all this healing. You all broken over here, but you want to receive this whatever this light is that you want to bring in. Just heal yourself. Heal yourself so you'll be able to hold it. You can carry your weight with it. You can ask of it what you need from it. Like that kind of energy. So you have that going on in the beginning of the week, that waxing gibbous, first in Pisces. So Pisces is going to give you that energy of like seeing things from a clear picture. So I would say at the beginning of the week, that's when you really start to, maybe like even going into a little bit of the last weekend, that's when you would sit and you would think to yourself, like Saturday and Sunday, what is it? What is it that I need to change? What is it that I need to let go? What is it that needs to be cleansed from me? And then when you're going into that Monday, you're going to hit that waxing gibbous in Aries. So you're going to feel a sense of momentum coming on. Like, okay, got it. Cool. What do I want to do? Bop, 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 bop. Okay. Then you have Wednesday going into the 19th, where you're going to have that experience of the Beaver Moon, the Frost Moon, and that culmination being the full moon. The full moon specifically is November 19th. That Beaver Moon starts on November 17th. But of course, with it all being in Taurus and with it all being so close together, you're going to start to feel this energy together. All of these things, it's like a shift of a time period. It's going to be, like 78 hours of this kind of transition. And so with that being said, you're going to feel that Beaver, that Frost Moon energy on that November 17th, and then it will flow into that partial lunar eclipse on November 19th in Taurus. And then afterwards, there's going to be a waning gibbous in Gemini. And so this will be a time, especially going into next weekend, of deep reflection. When I say deep reflection, I'm not necessarily saying like you're going into the deepest depths of reflection, but more of like you are aware after that in an unemotional way what you learned. You will receive information from the experience as a whole. So I would say coming up in the week, the most important days are Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday being, as we talked about, Beaver Frost Moon, and then it reaching its peak when the full moon partial lunar eclipse happens on Friday, November 19th. So let's go ahead and jump into the cards here and see what other information we need to know. Universe, is there anything in particular that we need to pay attention to during this moment? We are so grateful to receive any information in any way that you want to give it. And we live from the highest value of truly enjoying this life we've been given and loving every part of ourselves. Okay. And I'm going to ask about the offering too, that celebration, because during this lunar eclipse, it is not a time of manifesting, but it can be seen as still a time of celebration because you're still sacrificing. Think about how you can sacrifice for one of two reasons. You can sacrifice out of gratitude, so grateful, want to give this up to show my appreciation, or sacrifice out of I want something, which is the manifesting of it. This would be a sacrifice. Like, think about it from the shadow side of it. You are giving something up, boom, because you want it to be cleansed, okay? But you're giving up a pain. You're not giving up, something that's great. You're giving up a pain because you want it to be cleansed. You're bringing it to the surface to give it up. And things you can do, and we'll do more when we actually have this happening. I'll decide if we're gonna have it on the 17th or if we're gonna have it on the 19th. Probably now I'm starting to think maybe even the 19th. So you will decide how you want to cleanse that out. But jumping back into the cards, we have the Two of Swords, which is giving me partnership, okay? One-on-one partnerships with people. We have the Three of Swords, okay? And swords represents air qualities. It represents the mental anguish. The Three of Swords, heartbroken. Something really broke your heart. The Nine of Pentacles, where you're seeing things become fruitful. Understanding that even in your building, even in your growing, that there is something you have to offer up that no longer suits you because it doesn't fit your life anymore. The deepest pain that you're giving up can't exist here. It just can't. And it's just been sitting in a corner like dust on a book. And you're like, it's time to give it up. So we have the King of Cups, which gives this energy of emotion, understanding the emotions, using the emotions to its greatest benefit. Being emotional is not a bad thing. Having emotions is not a bad thing. If you're just trying to be numb, I wouldn't necessarily feel like that's the best. But what I would say with that is understanding that every emotion has a purpose. That sadness can give us empathy. That pain can give us optimism. That hope can teach us patience. That all of these different things that we feel within ourselves can teach us deeper lessons. So here it is during this time, you are mastering understanding that, not everything has to be good for it to be a lesson worth learning. That if you keep your eyes open, you can learn any type of lesson from any situation. You might even stop looking at it as challenges or traumas and start seeing it as a different type of opportunity. And then we have the Hermit. And I think this is probably the most important card that has been pulled. The reason why is if you're going to offer up your deepest pain to be cleansed and to be healed, you have to make sure it's yours. You have to make sure you're balanced and clear and you're ready to let go. You're going to be removing yourself from a karmic cycle, meaning you're not going to behave in a certain way anymore. And if you are surrounded by other people who are trying to deal with their stuff too, you may take some of theirs on, or you may not have enough time for yourself. So pull yourself back. I've noticed even in my own life, this is what I do. If there's situations like now in which I am balanced, but I do know it's time to offer something up to be healed. It's actually a beautiful time of the year, if you think about it, for the deepest parts of you to be healed. I do understand though that not everybody is in that place, because think about it. I do this every day. I'm talking about healing. I'm working on these things. I'm working with clients. I'm working with myself. So it's kind of like, I kind of have time to really think and evaluate what I need, But some people, this might be the first time that they're really evaluating things. So it might just be a hot mess for them. I don't know what to do. And a lot of times people will ask you to bring your energy down to meet them where they're at, to relate. And sometimes we do that just to be kind. But I would say during this time, require people around you to bring their energy up to talk to you. What that means is, instead of trauma bonding, let's talk about what actions can actually be taken. What reflections did they have during these deep periods of time? Even having a little bit of lightness and laughter while still working on these deep things. And if you find that the people around you, situations and circumstances cannot do that, consider just having some time to yourself. Some you time, we call it me time, having some me time to the self while you're working through these things. So if you can afford it, take a day off, take some time off, but you need to be with yourself so that you can truly offer it up, and also understand the lesson that some people will not be offering anything up. Some people will sit in their karmic cycles a little bit longer, and that has nothing to do with you. And I understand that you might love them to bits, but that's their business, and you got to be on your own business, as well as it's not your responsibility to do it for them. And if you really cared for people, you wouldn't do it for them, because the longer that you prolong their healing, even if it is to confront the deepest pain and give it up, let it go, and let them be fruitful, even if it is like that, you are not helping them by wanting to coddle them. Sometimes you got to be uncomfortable. Even you and your individual experience, it is okay to be uncomfortable, especially if you have peace within yourself, you have peace within your space. You can start to look at these things that bring you discomfort and see it from the perspective of, how can I pour into it to heal? How can I pour into it to let it go? How can I move forward and change my behavior and change what I do? These are things that you will get. Maybe or maybe not, other people will get it too. So don't, especially during the lunar eclipse, especially that Friday, it's a very social time of going out. Don't get me wrong. Fridays are Friday, right? Friday. But also be very mindful that you could get into conflict with people, because ultimately what people are going to be seeking is that full moon in Taurus, which is comfort. Comfort at the highest degree, a good meal, a good book, blase. But what you will actually end up getting is a lot of unresolved healing from the people that you come across. Everybody's going to be projecting their stuff. So I would say on Friday, just keeping it close. Maybe you have your little crew, or just the people you want to be around, or maybe a healing space or a relaxing space. That's kind of how I see it. Our space, when we do something, we'll do something on Friday. I'm thinking Friday will be the time to work on these things and get these things going. Okay, universe, can you give us some conversation with Uranus? Because with the moon being in Taurus and Uranus is still in Taurus, what does that mean? So with this Four of Cups, it's coming off like balance. We know that Uranus is the sign of change, and it's like the shock and awe change. Like, I don't care, just throw it out there. And with that moon going into Taurus, which is balance, and the things that bring us a sense of security, both Uranus and the moon will be working to ultimately bring you a sense of peace and security. Now, what it's going to look like on the outside is a hot mess, but what it is an opportunity for you to find peace and balance. If you can find peace and balance in your greatest chaos, seeing it, calling it for what it is. Don't lie about it. Don't say it's something different. Call it what it is, and be able to let that go. That's what you'll be able to receive on the other side of that, especially when you come to the weekend where you're going to have that deep reflection. Okay, let's see if there's anything left. Okay, universe, is there anything else that you want us to know? We live in a constant state of gratitude. We are so grateful to be alive, to be living this life. We don't want to be any other person except for this. Ace of Pentacles. This is your next chapter. This is something new that will show up. This is something that if you do this, if you give it up, if you find balance, and again, the cheat code is sometimes you gotta take the day off from other people and just sit with yourself and sit with your feelings and work through these things and just make peace with your life. This next, whatever it is coming. It's coming to help and pull you in the directions, specifically and particularly in whatever area of life it's coming up. Because, it could be in love, it could be in family, it could be at work, it could be in your self-image, it could be in your health, it could come in your social circles, it could, there's in your spiritual path. It could come in all kinds of, financially, it could come all types of way, education, we could keep going and going and going. It could come in all types of ways. But what I want to say to you is that this is a beautiful time. Do not mistake emotions as something negative or something that you don't want to pay attention to. It's a beautiful time. And something about giving up your deepest pain as sacrifice for you to win, for you to live, for you to be alive, for you to live a life in a different way that you never lived before. Something about that is very beautiful, because you're giving it up so that you can survive. Actually, no, you're giving it up so you can thrive. That's actually a better way to put it. Well, everybody, I really enjoyed this moon cycle reading. Appreciate y'all. Love you to bits. I hope you enjoy it too. Go ahead and use the comment section. Share the video with those who would love to hear about this. You know, we do this on a weekly basis. I also throw in the other planets too if there's something interesting happening. And if, you know, if I feel called, I'll pull some cards too for different things as well. But hey, you did it. Cannot wait to see you next time. Also want to remind you that we do have a mystical self-care community over on Patreon. So you can use the link in the description box to sign up. I'm merging all the tiers, so just go ahead and choose the family tier, and it's going to be all the things that we work on. Sometimes, and in the backlog of all the stuff, we work on different modalities, both in healing and manifesting, as well as we do intuitive work too. So that's a lot in the area of tarot, oracle, intuitive work, and things like that. So it's all that. And we have energy healing circles too, which is a much more private group where we all work with each other, and we have different themes each month for that. So, you know, okay. I enjoyed this. Cannot wait to see you next time. Cool. See you then.